Let's get ready to talk about the Rincon. Good morning, YouTube. What's up, guys? I hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. Today is the day that we fully review the Hoka Rincon 2. I have been putting this shoe to the test for 50 miles and now I'm finally there and it's time to talk about how the shoe held up. As you guys might know, if you watched my first run impressions video of the Hoka Rincon 2, I was a really big fan of the 1, but it wasn't without its issues. So I was really hoping that in this shoe, the 2, that they would figure those out and it would be issue-less. So today we're going to talk about how it held up, what they improved on, and what I still think needs to be done to really make this shoe top notch. But first, let's do some running.
I'm thinking back on all those times when I felt closed off from all that I could become, eager but too scared to climb. Wanted to please my friends, but it felt like the end of myself. I was shut down and all drained out. I was lost, so I had to change. Yeah, I shook off all the bad vibes, cut me loose from the pettiness they turned on me. But now I am perfectly free to be me. This is who I am. This is who I am now. No matter what they say, this is who I am. This is who I am now.
If you're unfamiliar with how I structure my full reviews, let me give you a rundown. First, I go over the specs, then we talk about the upper, the midsole, the outsole, and then my conclusions on the shoe, which is where I rate it out of 5 stars. So if it's the best shoe I've ever worn and I never want to take it off my foot, it's gonna be 5 stars. And if it's the worst shoe I've ever worn and I never want to wear it again, it's gonna be 1 star. Then at the end, I'll throw up a screen with the pros and the cons so you can get a visual idea of what I like and dislike. I'm not gonna go over every single last detail about the upper, the midsole, and the outsole. That's really what I do in my first run impressions video. So again, if you haven't seen that, go check it out if you wanna see that information. One last thing before we get started today, I do wanna let you guys know that these shoes were sent to me by Running Warehouse. However, they're not gonna see this video before you. Hoka's not gonna see this video before you. And all my opinions are my own. And I've got a lot of them. So with that out of the way, let's start with the specs of the Hoka Rincon 2. According to Running Warehouse, the Rincon 2 is 7 ounces for a woman's size 8. But for my size 10.5 women's, the shoe came in at 7.8 ounces. It has a 5mm drop with 32mm of stack in the heel and 27 in the forefoot. And yes, the Rincon 2 is true to size. Hoka is using an engineered sandwich mesh in the Rincon 2. It's a lot better than the first version. There are pretty minimal overlays here, just some in the midfoot. And moving to the back of the shoe, Hoka did give us a pretty sturdy heel counter with a very oversized pull tab. I quite like the material of this upper. In the summer, it felt very breathable, and now in the winter months, it doesn't feel so breathable that my toes feel like icicles. So I think it's a really good middle ground. I do still feel like this shoe has a lot of volume. It's definitely not a bad thing, but just something that I did notice because my foot is so narrow. But I think that's gonna really help a lot of other people who don't have narrow feet. For me, I did have to cinch down the laces a bit to get a proper fit, but it wasn't anything too terrible. And I did have some slight heel slippage, but I used the last loophole on the shoe and that was kind of done away with. One thing that I did find annoying that I don't think I mentioned in my first run impressions, but it kind of irked me over time was this tongue. I feel like the tongue is way too short and I could never pull it up, so it just felt wrong. Maybe that would be better if the tongue was gusseted, but it's not, so just something that I wanted to point out. You know, despite this upper being pretty minimal, it held up well over the course of 50 miles. And I know that's not a ton of mileage, but for a shoe that's gotten a lot of criticism because of its durability issues, I mean, it barely looks like it has a scratch on it. Midsole and outsole, different story. But one great thing that I should mention is that this upper gave me no blisters, hot spots, irritation, and overall, it was a big thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed it. The midsole of the Hoka Rincon 2 is a full compression EVA. There's no bells and whistles here. We just got some EVA foam and a early stage Metarocker technology to help you roll forward in your stride. I love the underfoot feel of this shoe. I like to tell people who haven't tried Hokas before that the Rincon is a really good entry into the Hoka lineup. And the reasoning for that is that it's soft, but it's not gonna be like marshmallowy, pillowy, quicksand soft like maybe people would think the Clifton or definitely the Bondi is. So that's what you're feeling here. You're getting a lot of protection. You certainly feel some squish, but with that early stage Metarocker, you're also getting some roll forward and some toe off that helps you go a little bit faster for tempo days. One day I went out on a run in this shoe and I didn't really know what I wanted to do that day, but the shoe felt so enjoyable that I ended up running 10 miles. And it's just proof that you don't always need a fancy foam or a fancy plate to have a good experience in a shoe and go fast when you want. It's not one of the most responsive foams on the market, it's just simple EVA, but with that rocker, you don't really need it as much. However, this shoe's midsole does not last long. It feels pretty similar to when I first got it, but I'm starting to feel some slight degradation of that foam. Like I said in my first run impressions video, in the Rincon 1, the shoe kind of concaves and feels like a bucket seat. And I don't fully feel that yet, but I can feel signs of that starting, if that makes sense. And at 50 miles, I mean, that's not a ton of miles. It's not even triple digits. I don't really think that I should be feeling that yet. Now, I'm still absolutely gonna wear it. It's still so enjoyable to run in, but I did want to make sure you guys were aware that this midsole is not the most durable on the market. And that's kind of been a knock of the Rincon series since the one. But I think it really depends on the person wearing the shoe. But I would say it'll probably hold out for like 200, 300 max miles, but I think you're not gonna get much more out of it. Moving on to the outsole of the Hoka Rincon 2, we have the most controversial part of the shoe. And why is that? Well, the Rincon 1 had this same exact pattern here with tons of exposed EVA material and very little rubber in the forefoot and even less of it in the heel. And what people were noticing is that it was really degrading quickly, it was not durable at all, and it kind of hindered their ability to use the shoe and enjoy it to its full potential. So what did Hoka do? They gave the Rincon 2 the same exact outsole. I have taken a lot of shoes to 50 miles and none of them really look this rough. It's definitely fraying quite a bit, and a lot of this is cosmetic and won't necessarily impact the ride of the shoe too much, but with time, when we start to get to triple digits and, you know, higher mileage, this is gonna be an issue. As far as traction goes, the little bit of rubber that we do have here does grip onto surfaces pretty nicely. And one positive of this outsole and sort of the shoe in general that a lot of other tempo shoes in its class don't have is that it has a pretty wide base and surface area, which is great because I'm a person who overpronates, but I don't necessarily wanna wear a stability shoe. And plus there's not a ton of stability tempo day shoes out there. So I need something that's gonna give me a little more protection and have a wider base, and the Rincon 2 has that, so it's not all bad. So now I know I usually give you my conclusion, but before I do that, I want to talk about price. On runningwarehouse.com, the Hoka Rincon 2 is $114.95, and that is a really good price considering this is a tempo day shoe. And other shoes in its class are $160, $180, $200. I mean, $115 is a pretty big steal in this category. So if you're aware that this shoe is not the most durable and that it's gonna probably wear out quicker than some of the others that it's competing against, then I would say $115 ain't so bad. I think Hoka priced this pretty well. If you're interested in this shoe, I'll link it down below. You can click that link and pick up your own pair. Keep in mind that is an affiliate link with Running Warehouse. However, that doesn't mean much for you. It just helps out my channel so I can keep reviewing these shoes and keeping it real with you guys. But I wanted to mention price here because it's going to impact the conclusion and my rating. The Hoka Rincon 2 is a really fun shoe. It's a fast shoe. It's a light shoe. I think all kinds of runners are gonna find themselves comfortable in the Rincon 2. And if you like a lighter weight shoe for daily training, you absolutely can wear this. But the durability does make the Rincon 2 suffer a bit. So I was gonna give this shoe 3.5 out of 5 stars and knock it down for just the durability alone, because really that's my biggest gripe with this shoe. But then I remembered that it's only $115. So because of that, I'm gonna give the Hoka Rincon 2 4 out of 5 stars. If you're aware from the get-go that this shoe is not going to last you 400, 500, 600 miles, then I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with the Rincon 2. All right, so now let's throw up the screen with the pros and the cons. For pros, I have that it's lightweight, the midsole foam feel, the rocker tech, the upper material, that the shoe is fun and fast, and the price. For cons, I have the durability of the midsole, the durability of the outsole, the annoying tongue thing I was talking about earlier, and the heel slippage. But that about wraps it up. For me, I'm gonna keep grabbing this shoe. It's one of my favorites that I've tried in 2020, and despite the durability, I still feel confident in saying that. It doesn't thrill me that the biggest knock of this shoe was the durability and they kept the midsole and the outsole exactly the same. But third time's a charm, right? Well guys, that concludes my full review of the Hoka Rincon 2. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe. And when you're done with all that, hit that notifications bell down below so you can find out every time I upload a new video. Please make it a little bit more durable, Hoka, please. I have some more videos for you guys next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and don't forget to run like Heller. See you next time.